All right, welcome everyone. In this video, I want to talk about how we can take a data frame that we're working with in R and write this data frame to a file that we can export outside of R and maybe share with somebody else that they could then import or use in any other software that they might want to use. So for example, we've been working with, I've got a CSV file that lives on the internet someplace. How can I import that CSV file into R and then work with that as a data frame in R? And now we're doing the inverse of that operation, taking a data frame, exporting it to a file. We're going to export it to a CSV file. So the functions in the reader package, so the reader package in the tidyverse has these read functions with the underscore and then the file type of that you're importing. Same idea with the write functions. We have write underscore and then the file type that we want to write to. And there are different file types that are available to us. Write underscore CSV is what we're going to use because we are going to write to a CSV file. And the inputs that we need, there are two inputs that we need into any one of these write functions. First, we need to input a data frame, data set X. So this is going to be someplace where our data is currently stored as a data frame. And then we need to enter the name of the file where we want to export to inside of quotes. So first we enter what is the data frame name that we have in R. Then inside of double quotes, we enter the name of the file that we want to export this to. There are similar functions in base R that instead of using the underscore, use a dot. So you've got write dot CSV and write dot delim and things like that. But we're just going to focus with the reader package from here on out. So our functions are going to have underscores in them. And I'm going to assume we've loaded up the tidyverse so that you can access those functions. And there are other file types that are available to write to. I can write to a tab separated file where we separate adjacent cells with a tab as opposed to a comma. There is a more general function, which is delimited, where you can specify the delimiter. Maybe it's not a comma or a tab, but some other special character. CSV2, we have not talked about that file type inside of reader. But for many places, like in the United States, we use a period for a decimal point. So if we have a number 14.45, we indicate that with a period, and then the decimal places come after the period. There are many places around the world where instead of using a period for the decimal separator, it is a comma is used. So 15.45 would actually be written as 15.45. They actually write currency that way as well. And so if you are working in a country where numbers are formatted in this way, using a comma separated file is not going to be useful. So you can imagine if you have two adjacent cell values that are like 15.45 and 14.12, separating them with a comma is no problem in that using that syntax, using that formatting for decimals. But if you live someplace where they use commas for the decimal point, this would not work, right? A comma separated file would think this is 1, 2, 3, 4 different values as opposed to 2 different values. So in those situations, a very common way of separating adjacent cells is to use a semicolon instead of a comma. And this formatting is what is called CSV2. So that's what that means. That was a long explanation. You could also export to Excel CSV files, and these are just CSV files that are formatted in a way that are a little easier to import into Excel. Okay, so that's the first thing. The next thing is, well, where is this file that you create going to be exported to? So you can check to see what it's going to get created in what is called your working directory. So your working directory is some location on your computer or perhaps in Google Drive where you can read and write files. You can check what your working directory is with the command get wd. So I'm in Google Colab, obviously. It's telling me my working directory is some folder that is called content. If you're working on a laptop and you're using like RStudio or some other software, you can set your working directory to be a local file directory on your computer. When you're working in Google Colab, it's going to be much easier to work with the file system in the drive using the cloud. And the default working directory is this content folder. And if you want to set the working directory to something else, then you can define your working directory to be something else with the set wd function. So this would, I don't have these folders, so I'm not going to run this command, but this would go into my current working directory and then look for a folder called folder 1, go inside that folder to folder 2, and then go inside that to subfolder. So now I would actually be in subfolders of content. And now if I tried to write my file, my file would be written into the folder subfolder inside of folder 2, which is inside of folder 1, which is inside of the content folder. So you can use the get working directory and the set working directory folders to first set the working directory to which this file is going to be written when you use the write underscore CSV function. Okay, so we'll see how all of this works in Google Colab. In the very next video, we'll actually export our students' data to a CSV file. Thanks.